First of all, before even starting anything, I want to congratulate you guys that you're coming forward with something as unique as giving a platform and a community for content writers, which is one of the most what do you say, ignored and not really, like, formalized. Everybody thinks that content hai to, likhti hai, are do line likh de, how does it matter, and we all have been subjected to these kind of remarks. So it's definitely a very positive thing to see that a community is being formed for the content writers. So wish you guys all the best, and I'm glad that I'm a part of this in the initial stage itself. So yeah, I mean, what is communication? How do you define communication and content together? Because we are the social animal, as we are normally called, and what makes us different from any other species in the world is the art of expression and communication. And communication could be written or verbal, non-verbal, and yes, obviously, जब बोलोगे बात निकलेगी तो फिर दूर तलक जाएगी. And that has been the mantra for any kind of communication. So yes, business communication and leisure communication, there is a difference, but there are also a lot of blurred lines in last few years. In last couple of years, we see a lot of activities happening in business of entertainment of business, and stuff like that. So with my experience in PR, when I started the career, it was 2003. And ever since, from the era where each press release used to be written, taken printout, and then manually faxed, one copy you write and then rewrite the names on it with the pencil eraser, to a time when, like, you just WhatsApp people that, hey, sending you a doc, please have a look. There's been a huge change, definitely. It's like a 360-degree change. So I just want to take you guys through what has been my experience and how things have changed, for good or for, like, not so good. We'll just have a discussion over it, rather than, like, me making any point here. So yes, this is what I want to present here, which is the changing dynamics of communication, which is uh, am I visible? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's visible.
yeah, ideally, a decade ago, when you spoke about communication, when you spoke about effective communication, there were certain parameters, there were certain benchmarks which were dealt with. Like, media was the key. Yes, we we started career in the times when it was a huge thing to call people by their first name, and yes, that was, it might sound very casual today. I mean, I can just call up the editor and just say, hey, Mr. ABC, and, like, talk. But there was a time when we started, even the seniors, they were very, very humble and very mindful of the fact that, unless you know the person by their first name, unless you know them very personally, there was always a sir attached or a ma'am attached to it. So that was the kind of impact they had on clients, they had on PR people, and overall everybody. And we are talking about like, seniors who took their business seriously. And yes, so there was a kind of a bureaucracy from the media side, but that is how it was. And they were running empires for sure. So there was one Times of India and one Indian Express as an express group and a Times group, and under that you had various publications and various units. So they knew that, they had that kind of a rule, they had that kind of a power in society. Paid media had just started taking a sharp turn. Yes, today advertorials are a part of any communication plan. But paid media was not the first choice for any public relations or a communications team. This used to be considered as you couldn't produce any PR piece. That's why you are taking the rescue of paid media. So that is how it was coming, and I'm talking of just a 10 years, 12 years back, not more than that. Yes, all that was there in the client's mind was media bole to Times of India, DNA, HD, television bole to NDTV and CNBC, and yes, radio had also started picking up, but radio had a different style of communication. Radio, it was more of a social impactful work that they were looking for. But yes, branded and paid communication, non-paid barters were also doing pretty well. Around 2008 2009, it was like the peak of radio at that point in time. Mass media was the media. Yes, this is something which is which I feel very happy that we have changed. That apart from the times and DNAs of the world, you tell people that you have got exchange for media, or for that matter, even a modern Medicare kind of publication, and it was like, okay, times kahan hai, so what have you done? And you had to keep explaining, this is where you are going to get your audience from. So even if it was a hardcore trade communication or trade information, the first choice used to be the mass media, and by mass media we clearly mean the times of the world. Okay, and yes, economic times had always been the god, and I think it still remains the god in many ways. Social media was only for personal and entertainment purposes. Absolutely, there were offices which, there were big conglomerates which had which had blocked the sites of Facebook, Twitter from their internet server. Why? Because it was a distraction. It was not for the no matter how much you justify, that was not a part of your work hours culture. And yes, WhatsApp had not yet launched a decade back. I mean, it was a very recent phenomena which which has picked up so much. But media had started recognizing its worth. And how? So what happened was, I'm talking of around 2011, 12, okay, when Facebook had started showing its impact globally. So every media person, every journalist, they have, I mean, journalists go by the bylines, and each day they have a deadline, they have a target. So either it's a one story, two stories per person. So every story that they wrote, every byline that they had to do a shorter version on social media as well, especially Facebook and Twitter. So that is how the mandates started changing slowly and steadily. So they realized that, like, even the senior most journalists who were, first of all, being on Facebook itself was like, not a not I mean, the seniors would keep a check on, oh, you have a Facebook account, that means you must be busy there. From there to coming to a point where, like, every media person were given a mandate of 3 posts a day, 4 posts a day. So it could be a one liner story, it could be the gist of the main story that's going to come tomorrow. But that is started picking up, and that is where it started getting leeway from. And yes, content started getting new avenues. Blogging, I think it's 2008 is when the blog started, and it has actually got people the avenue to express themselves. So what was happening was, Twitter had the character limits. It still has, but earlier it was like, hardly 1400 characters. So how much will you write in 1400 characters? That was an art. You have to get your message conveyed. So how do you get your same message which you want to write in a longish post in a Facebook or a blogging page, your microblog page? How do you concise that in 1400 words and do it? Earlier people did not do series of posts. It would be just one post and getting that publicized however they could. And social media post had started taking a newer turn, so now everyone is a journalist in their own way. Everyone has their anyone who has a smartphone, who has the login ID in all these social media pages, they are a journalist in their own way. Everyone feels that, na, I have a mic, I have a right to talk. But in a very constructive way, in a very constructive manner, this has started taking shape, and it has given alternate job avenues for many journalists also. There are many senior journalists who had stopped writing for publications and other channels, and then started their own blogging page, and has been doing very pretty successfully. So, what was the vision? I mean, when 2010 came, everyone, or rather, when 2005 also, everybody started talking about, we have to think ahead, we have to think at least 15 years from now, and then, unless we have a bigger vision, we won't be able to cross the smaller paths. And I think more or less all of us who have done our MBAs, we have been conditioned in that way, right? Ki, think of a macro picture, then boil it down to micro, then 5 yearly plan banao, we break it into yearly, then break it into 6 monthly, and then come to probably a daily execution and operation of it. Things were no different in communication. So how the people started taking it was like, there has to be a seamless integration of marketing and communication. So as a PR person, I have no qualms in saying that, but PR has always taken a backstep when it comes to communication. People want to be written in media. People want their complete publicity without paying the space rate, which always, obviously, if you're not paying for a space, then you are doing PR, right? I mean, you have to influence people to write about you. But PR never got the status that it deserved. Okay, so there would be a corporate communication team, and there would be a marketing team. There was no marketing communication team for a longest time, which was required. So people started realizing that, with the confluence that is going to happen for the digital world, we have to have seamless integration, and this started becoming one of the key agendas for business mapping, business planning. And people realize that, unless the marketing and the communication goals match, we cannot have tangible growth results. Content is the king. Unfortunately, yes, content has been the king. So from media being the king to content being the king, it was a wonderful experience, and it gave a lot of leeway for staunch PR people. When I say staunch PR people, I consider myself a staunch PR person. Why? Because I have never been very bum chum with any media. Like, if you look at the way it is portrayed in most of your fancy communication, or whether it is movies or television, or the way it is portrayed is like, PR people are glamorous, and they just cling glasses and they get their work done. I'm sorry, boss, it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. If you do not have the right content, if you do not have the right story to pitch, no matter how bumchum you are, the person might be your closest friend or a family member. If the content is not right, they will obviously come back to you saying, sorry, this is not working out. Probably one story or one favor story they will do, but that doesn't happen all the time. Content is the king, and probably it will remain the king for the longest time, unless there is some not so great influence happening. So if that doesn't happen, then content is the king, and it remains the king. And there have been times when I have sold stories to people purely based on what content we have. Like, I might not know the journalist, I might not know the editor personally, but if they saw that, yes, the story has the potential, if you write your story well, in concise manner, you cannot write a long love letter to your business guys, right? It has to be concise, it has to be precise, and the person has to see the merit of what the audience of theirs is going to see in the story. If they see that, you get your story right. Expected booming sectors, yes. In last 10 years we have seen a huge change, a huge push in hospitality, tourism, telecommunication, and of course health and education. So while on one side health and education was more of social messaging kind of stories, and like, a lot of trend spotting was happening. There has been people liked numbers, people like, I mean, if you go to any business communication, business publication, say an Economic Times or a Financial Express or a Hindu Business Line or anybody of that sort, they always seek numbers. And when I say numbers, unfortunately, with the global impact, everything started getting translated into millions. So from a domestic point of view, if you see that if the domestic numbers are in two digits but huge for our country, unfortunately, if it is in a global parlance, if it might just sound like a small number, but numbers were important and still they are important. And the vision that you want to showcase should be seen in the trends that you are spotting. Say for example, I give you a small example that we had worked on. One of our clients, which is a huge um, um, it's a portal, web matrimony portal, okay. And they were doing pretty well already, but there had come a stagnant point. So like, what next? I mean, how do we chase next? I mean, same kind of stories, same kind of, I mean, there's been a lot of myths about it. People are taking matrimony, web matrimony or not, and all that. So we had a brainstorming session and we said, okay, how many people are there logged in your site right now, paid members? Like more than 2 lakhs. Like, you have 2 lakh data with you, okay. You have 2 lakh people who are talking about their individual preferences, their choice of spouses they are looking for, the choice of profession they expect from your from their spouses. So like, why can't we just dig out what is already available and see what can be done? Oh wow, what an idea it was, and how it got translated. We All we did was we hired two interns to sit and sieve through the data and categorize it in various segments. Eventually, in a span of 1 month, we were sitting on one of the richest data that was available in web matrimony culture. And we thought that this is it, let's take this. Then we created a PR plan for it. How do we communicate it to the world? First thing, obviously, it was a huge story and it was one of first of its kind. I mean, and I'm talking about 2011. Okay, first of its kind. So nobody has done anything like that in the past. We said, let's break it down. First, we did one huge story. We did a cover story with one of the leading magazines, general interest magazine. When I say general interest magazine, somebody like a India Today, Outlook, etc. And unfortunately, I cannot name the client and name the media right now. I'm just giving you what was done. So we did cover story with 7 page stories inside, which had the complete data. I mean, however they wanted to use, they used it. Then we took the next step. We were reaching the it was around March. So it's like March is the Women's Day, International Women's Day. Why don't we pick out data only from the women's point of view and give it to somebody else? We did that. That was again a lead story. Then we said there are various data from various touch points, various states, various segments. Why don't we just find out individual data from each state and give it to them? And we did that. Oh wow! By the end of 2 months of the report getting released, it was one of the milestone results, because we were sitting on close to 250 media coverages, not one, not two, almost every coverage, which was either a lead story or a cover story of that particular media. So in South, we had a television channel which did a half an hour panel discussion on. So um, that is the kind of impact. I mean, you have to keep your eyes open to find out what can work where and how, you know, and trends do matter. I mean, everyone wants to see आगे क्या होने वाला है, जो हो चुका है उससे experience क्या मिला है, what is it that we can take it forward, and how best you can manage it, how best you can leverage it in the times to come. And yes, this was something very interesting, and I'm glad it happened. India became a must in everyone's portfolio. So whether it is big conglomerates, whether it is startup, even international startups had started taking notice on Indian market. And yes, we had good. I mean, we have there are various very strong researches by IMRB and ORG, and we should read that. I mean, how India has become the must in everyone's portfolio, and that gave a huge impetus to the communication industry also, because we had foreign investments coming into Indian communication, and that also applied in all the other sectors. But yes, communication wise, it helped us a lot. But as we say, this was all happening. We were all planning. We were all busy with 2020 में हम ये करेंगे, ये करेंगे, ये करेंगे, and we all know what happened in 2020. So life is what happens when you're busy planning. So we were busy planning on 30th of December 2019 that my resolution is, and God forbid, I mean, every resolution gone for a toss, and we had come to a very unfortunate, or a very, I wouldn't call it unfortunate for that matter, because it was not unfortunate because it taught us a lot of things. So 2020 has changed to what, a myth or a reality? That was what we need to find out. Why? Because we had plans, we had huge plans, we had global plans, we had domestic expansion plans and whatnot. But what happened? It all became a reality with a myth in its own. So while there was you can easily call it like a AC and BC. I mean, before Corona and after Corona. So I don't want to use the word Corona. I mean, this is a positive platform, and we will look forward to something good and something better that we have learned out of it, but rather than just using the word C. So while this happened in February 2020, everything, every strategy, every move just had to revamp. I mean, you had no choice. I mean, we were all handicapped for what? I mean, with whom? We don't know. We all just got stuck where we were. 18 months ever since, and we've been in the war footing mode. So क्या हमने जीना छोड़ दिया? क्या हमने खाना छोड़ दिया? क्या हमने आगे बढ़ना छोड़ दिया? नहीं. Just the patterns have changed, and it had to change like this. So the 15-year plan didn't work. How we want to do it? Where will we do it? Because how we are going to change the plans? I mean, the elaborate plans, there were global plans and all that. How do you change that? How does it now become to, from a media point of view? I mean, media was in a very different state, because every client wanted their PR. But at the end of the day, do you think media was really concerned about what clients are doing, or which particular client is going to do what? No, everyone's focus changed from, are we going to survive? I mean, that was the question. That was the question, and every industry, every sector wanted to know, how are we going to survive this? Is my industry going to industry going to be bankrupt? क्या अब हमारी जरूरत नहीं है? These were the questions started haunting everyone in our mind. All of us have gone through our own apathies during last 18 months. So how we do it, where we do it? I mean, suddenly you are home locked, right? You are house arrested. What next? I mean, people like you and me who have access to digital world, we have somehow managed to go through. But the blue collar jobs, the people with labor intensive industries, they struggled a big time. I mean, and uh, would a communication help in any way? Of course, yes. Most importantly, what we had to answer later was, why do we do what we are doing? Because everything came to a circle of, we've been running fast, we've been running helter skelter, we've been going berserk in our strategy and everything. But this was a time to revamp everything, to understand why we are doing what we are doing and how we take it forward from here. So life after pandemic has changed drastically. I mean, it sounds and feels like, as if something 360-degree has rotated on the planet surface. And I remember in 2012 there was this hoax that Mayan civilization has said that life as we know will not remain the same. 21st December 2012, remember? I mean, we all have heard about this. That happened. Okay. And yes, the world as we know is not going to remain the same, and that is exactly what has happened. Mayans were not wrong, but थोड़ा सा पैटर्न चेंज हो गया. Apocalypse have happened, but not in the sense of uh, things are not crumbled. Things have not, I mean, it is not as drastic as it was shown in a Day After Tomorrow or a 2020 2012. But things have changed, and this pandemic is apocalypse. This has taught us how to make mends in our ways of working, our ways of thinking, and how to make things effective going forward. First and the most important thing, every communication, every piece of material that was going out, whether it is business, uh, products, services, or even what we communicated with audiences about the product, empathy was the most important thing which had to be there. I mean, I might be sitting in my comfort cozy home, but there were people out there who were struggling. I cannot ignore them anymore. Okay, as a communications person, it is our responsibility to if today I'm able to speak to 5 people, those 5 people are getting affected by what I'm saying, right? Good, bad, or ugly. I might not be a very impactful audience, impactful orator, but at the same time, if 5 people are listening to me, that is my responsibility to convey something right. Okay, and here we are talking about a global pandemic. Nothing remained yours or mine alone. It was everyone's. All of us have got affected in some or the other way. Show some empathy to the person in front. This had to come through in every piece of communication you write, whether you write on Twitter, whether you write on Facebook, or you write a longish blog. If it did not include your, I mean, if I couldn't empathize with people, no sympathy. Sympathy is not what is required at this point in time. Sympathy is feeling sorry for, it is your problem and my problem in many ways together, and we have to walk this together. So empathy is the key word for sure. Compassion, yes, of course. I mean, just because it has not happened to me, can I just, like, be oblivious of the fact that, okay, you are crying, so should I not, I'm not saying I need to cry, but I can't laugh either, right? So while on one side, the whole world, including the close ones, near dear ones, they were going through some shit in life, I could not go and write a hanky post or a very feel good factor post. No, I mean, being positive does not mean I have to keep smiling always, right? Being positive is also like, yes, this has happened to me. How do I move forward with whatever has happened to me? It could be a physical loss, it could be a job loss, it could be a some terminal issues, but that has happened, and that is a fact of life. That is what has pandemic happened. You cannot ignore that, right? So being positive does not mean that, hey, I'm smiling. No, that's a fake smile. It's okay to cry. It's okay to cry, but how do we move forward from there? So every piece of communication, whether the clients, I mean, we started suggesting people to write authored articles, write empathetic pieces which connected and resonated with the world around. That made the difference. If my problem, if I'm writing a piece and anyone also feels that, yeah, that has happened with me, or like, yes, I can relate to it, that is what is required. The world is a vasudhaiva kutumbakam, which is like, the world is a home, world is my oyster. And that is how exactly finally we have come to realize that, world is an oyster. It is not about the bitcoins, it is not about the, you know traveling abroad anymore. I can be anywhere, even the remotest of the part of the world I'm in, and still I'm connected with the somebody living in some part of Africa or US, because that is how it has been. I'm sorry. Then, beyond just the numbers, yes, now we were talking about, I'm saying all this in last 2 years. Okay, the format of communication has definitely taken a huge turn. So while numbers and trends were making a lot of difference and a lot of impact, now we have started talking beyond just the numbers. It is the human stories which were making sense. Even for that matter, the Times of India and the Economic Times and the Hindu Business Line. Hindu Business Line has always been a little humane in their right, or rather, I would say not human. They have been very pragmatic in their approach, and probably that is why they've been there where they've been, and they will always be there, consistent. Economic Times has started taking a human interest story in every sector. So if it is about a manufacturing sector, they are talking about the jobbing impact, or how people can look forward for a better future, and trends like that. So it is not just about number, it is about the impact that you create through your communication and stories. Everyone has a story to tell, and the mediums are many. We are talking about the time when social media has boomed like anything. So there is a Facebook, there is a Twitter, there is a Instagram, there is a what is that, Pinterest, sorry. Sorry, I'm not much into it. So we have all these platforms, and the digital world has opened up like how. So if you have a story to tell, you have a medium to convey. Yes, of course, the print media suffered the maximum for the obvious reason. I mean, when you are stuck at home, there is no printing happening, there is no journalists are filing the stories and sending it on the email. But how do you print that? There were no printers, there were no people at the printing press, and even there were no people to distribute it ahead. So it suffered the maximum. But the digital formats of every medium had taken the best of, so there are many very reputed firms which consciously decided to move away from the printing and go only digital. Yes, it the initial suffering was much, but it helped them remain afloat, remain relevant, and also save a lot of costs. But yeah, print is print. I mean, if you come from a school of thought, I mean, like me, I still love to open the book and smell it first before reading. Anyways, digital media and social media made the most out of it. Yes. Now there is a difference here: digital media and social media. Now, digital media is digital PR. Okay, social media is social media. Now, digital media is the online version of, say, Times of India, the Economic Times, the HT, DNA, the Pink Villa, the Malini Agarwal's page, whoever. But that is digital media, a solid media which has a pattern, which has a set way of working in a media format, right? Whereas the social media uh, is your all sorts of your Facebook, Twitter, Insta, all mediums, even YouTube for that matter. I mean, we've all made the most of it on the social media as well. So if you have a story, see, this is all combined, right? I mean, whether I'm a journalist, whether I am a content writer, or I'm a business person myself, I have to have all these points involved in my piece of communication. Otherwise, it won't make sense. I can't just be writing everything in Xylo and say I'm happy. So whether I'm writing on business, whether I'm writing on movies, whether I'm writing on food, or I mean, food industry, we all have seen how it has groomed. I mean, every housewife became an experimentator, became an innovator in her own way. And yes, the new zooming away to shine, which is Zoom, Google Meet, your Microsoft team. I mean, the video formats have given us a huge, you guys know, right, that 100 years back also there was a pandemic, there was a Spanish flu, and for 3 years it remained like that. So when in 2000, when 2020, somebody told me that 3 saal tak ke there was a pandemic and there was a lockdown, and we were like, oh my god, how did they survive, what did they do, this that. We have already crossed 2 years. We are already reaching the second year of our pandemic anniversary. So, but yes, thanks to us, we have a lot of digital medium, a lot of social media platforms to help us out move forward. So how have strategies changed in 2 years? I mean, specifically in terms of how the businesses have started regaining their momentous. Biggest thing, what we have learned, unlearned, and relearned. I mean, um, till 2019, I have seen. I mean, I won't name the client, but the way we were running, it was going mad. I mean, we were just running. We were just running because we had to reach 2020 vision. We had to realize the vision that we had set for ourselves in 2020, and come what may, numbers have to be met. Come what may, we have to do this. Come what may, we have to find this, and it was going on like that. But 2020 taught us, hold on. First of all, find out why are you running. As I said earlier, more than how, it was the question of why. Why are we doing? Because why is the reason for we doing anything. So why are we doing what we are doing? How we can do it? We can always find a way out. And first, I know where I have to go. Why do I really need to travel? Do I really need to go there? If I have to go there, then okay, I'll find a way out, right? So that is how it was. Now, when the pandemic hit, when corona hit, suddenly there was a standstill. I mean, it was like, hum bhag rahe hain, bhag rahe hain, bhag rahe hain. Somebody just said statue, and you were all there where you were. Neither can you go out, neither can you make changes. You can't do anything. I mean, all you need to do is just stay put. Okay. But then, for initially it was just like a 20-day lockdown, 30-day lockdown, 2 months lockdown, 3 months lockdown. But then when we started realizing that no, the bank balances are going down, we have to get food home, we have to make work things, we have to make things work so that the food supply comes. I mean, as basic as that, right? We None of us required fancy clothes, none of us required any fancy gadgets, but the basic idea was, my family should be healthy, my family should have a decent supply of food. That was the thing that we were working for. So everything changed. I mean, my thought process changed. People know how to work from home now. Earlier, working from home was such a big thing. You have to take approvals from the HR, you have to write 100 mails to your boss, super seniors, HR, then you get an approval mail, and only then you will get a work from home option. But now we realize working from home has not affected, right? I mean, working from home has, in fact it has helped in saving a lot of cost, travel cost, infrastructure cost, logistical cost, so many things. Both the companies as well as the employees are able to save so much on so many things. So we have learned, right? What we learned, what we have decided to unlearn are certain things. Why? Because we knew that we can make things work with the available options also. the quality of work has improved in many ways, I feel. If I have to attend a meeting at 11 o'clock, I know I can prepare myself, stay calm. I don't need to worry about how the traffic is going to be. I'm not going to get anxious while driving. I'm not going to get anxious on the time constraint. Yes, digital world, there are certain limitations, but that's okay. We are working our way out on this, right? So there is never say never. There is always a way out to make things work in the given situation. Traditional versus digital communication and content for PR. Absolutely. I mean, there is, as I said, the confluence that we saw as a vision for 2020 was now realizing. The traditional media, again, traditional media, print suffered. Uh, Guys, just give me a second. I'm getting a call from the hospital for my mom's appointment. Just give me a second. Sorry, guys. My mom was
I hope
hospitalized.
everything's okay.
Yeah, she underwent a major surgery last week, and today we had to take her back to the hospital for taking the stitches out. So there was a
Okay.
call from the hospital. So, anyways, I'm sorry for this.
No worries. Please continue.
Yeah. Uh, mm, 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 mm.
Just a time check. We have about 10 minutes or two.
Yeah. It should be done.
Okay. Cool.
So here, yeah, the traditional versus digital communication, as I said, the patterns have changed. The print might have suffered, but digital traditional media has boomed, and this is helping most of the people in the best of their interest. Seamless integration of study. Yeah, I think, sorry, the same thing, the point above. So what to expect ahead? How do we what do we see ahead? Yes, as a communication person, I mean, I know there was a time, crisis communication is like a LIC policy. When you cannot advertise it because people say, "यार तुम मेरे मरने की बात क्यों कर रहे हो?" But the fact is, uh, you should always be prepared, right? Crisis communication is always in the package of PR plan. PR communication always insists on crisis communication. Unfortunately, clients never realize the worth of it. They always said कि हाँ एक template बना के रख दो. We will see we'll cross the bridge when we reach there. Unfortunately, that is not how it works. We kept telling, and we kept telling. Nothing happened. Now people are coming back to realize that yes, crisis communication is something we have to have a huge manual ready so that we are prepared on what's happening ahead. Inclusiveness, yes, here when we say inclusiveness, it is about not just about the inter team, but it is also about various mediums, various marketing communication becomes marcom now. And if you have seen the LinkedIn posts, a lot of articles, a lot of job postings, they are looking for marketing communication because that is where we realize now, and finally we have come to realize that there has to be an inclusiveness of various sectors and various segments to make sure it's all working together, rather than individual departments cannot work in silo anymore. Sensitivity, along with sensibility, of course. I mean, we all talk about being sensible. We want to sound intelligent all the time. We want to make sure that I'm better than the person, I'm better than somebody else, but there is always be a better person than you also. Just be a little human to what you are. Be genuine to what you are doing. That's it. Nothing more than that. Measurement tools need to be revised. Yes, this is something very critical now. Till some time back, precisely before the pandemic, the measurement tools of any communication would be: which publication has it appeared, where have we appeared, which page we have appeared, how many cc or square centimeter columns we have got. That's about it. Now the measurement tools are so different. I mean, I want to see how many people I have reached effectively. I'm not talking about the analysis that comes in the back page of a Facebook, or even for that matter any website. That is all very it says I got this many numbers, but how many have I finally impacted? That is important. So the measurement tools have to be revised. How? It depends from time to time and from client to client. I mean, every client has their requirement, their set of audience, and the medium that they want to be touched upon. So in PR we have various tools which are very technical tools, but at the same time it has a lot of quality involved rather than just the quantity. Well, I just want to leave you guys with one scary thought. I mean, we have survived this pandemic, and I'm sure the way ahead is just going to get smoother. Why? Because we have learned how to impact it, how to make ways with it. What if next pandemic is digital lockdown? Have you ever thought of it? Let us know, and if anybody wants to think about it, let me know.
Thank you, Kalpana.
Thank you.
It was a very insightful session. I personally didn't know how it was 10 years. I mean, I cannot imagine that people wouldn't take the digital medium as they
This
take
thought
now.
always haunts me. I mean, what if there is a digital lockdown? I mean, because we have become so over dependent on digital right now that there will always be a marginal utility concept, right? So what goes up does come down. What happens if that happens? I mean, are we prepared for it? Are we ready for it? Because it can hit any time, because we have given a lot of load to the digital world already in last 2 years. So you never know.
But I think we're in a stage where, as you said, we should be ready for anything,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
we can always bounce back.
Obviously, being positive does not always mean forgetting what could go wrong, right? Being positive is the idea to um, keep your eyes open, keep your eyes and ears open, and be ready for what could go wrong, you know
Yeah,
so that's the idea. So I hope it made any sense to people, and just a perspective that I have gained over the years that I've shared here.
yeah. Um, if you have any questions or comments or anything, you can share them now.
Hi, Kalpana. Firstly, thank you so much. It was an amazing, I would say, walkthrough. There were so many things like you said from the past years and how you have seen it. I wasn't aware of all of that. I want to know your thoughts on something since you've seen like that whole transition happen, right? So, like today, there's a like me personally, I don't see the news on television and I don't read the morning newspaper. But
Yeah.
there's a certain percentage of people, like maybe my parents or grandparents, who do. So there was this thing I read this research where I don't know it was Saudi or Israel. A bomb blast had happened, and on the front page they put up a photo of a really nice sunset or sunrise. They didn't put the news of the news came later, probably page 8 or
Hmm.
9.
Hmm. Yeah.
And they did a whole research and they were seeing how it impacts the happiness level of people based on the content that they consume, right?
True.
And
True.
of course, they compared it to India. And I mean, we know how our
Yeah.
newspapers
Yeah.
sound every
Yeah.
morning, or how the TV or, it is very like a lot of times negative news in comparison. And you've seen that shift, right? You've seen it like from the start.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? What is your take on the Indian
Um,
news, the way it is on TV and the way it is in our daily publications? And what do you
yeah.
think? Does it influence people? Because
Of
there is
course
a
it does.
large
Yes. Yes.
population watching that.
Yes, yes, it does. See, Indian mindset in general is very impressionable compared to any other country. If you go to UK, or especially UK, I mean, they have a very they have a very set notions about certain things, and they're very staunch about it. So it's not very easy for Western influence to just break their patterns easily. And that we have seen in last so many decades. With us, what is the thing, which is good and bad in both the ways. So when spicing things up is kind of a norm. It's a very easy practice for the media people, and giving that shock value had stayed important in masala, the media masala that has been there. But people have started realizing it, as you rightly said. If you see the kind of news and the kind of but that is also taken the shift from print to digital. Earlier, now print have a set limitation that it can what is news is going to become a breaking news only tomorrow morning. Because tonight it has already gone in print, unless it has come on time or it is the last minute breaking news. But with a click in our hand available, the same news, the same people has put it up on the digital platform. So a Times of India print might do an elaborate story day after tomorrow. Why? Because tomorrow's story is already being ready to print. But midnight you have the digital impressions already available. And that is always been there. Media impact on our minds is very impressionable, and unfortunately, yeah, it does have an impact. So, like, uh, you would see a very rare positive picture getting award. You would always see the starkingly depressing or starkingly disturbing picture getting more awards than, like, the happy pictures, which unfortunately, yeah, that is the reason why, like, we all are just clogging to see what is Katrina wearing on her wedding day. I mean, is that what is going to happen to us? No, it's not. But
Hmm.
that's what.
So we make the choice, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's the way.
Yeah. So just to add to this, there's this news that I had read way back in 2014. BBC had done this study on why news across the world is negative, and the clear fact is that we are attracted to negativity.
Yeah.
As human beings, our psychology is such that we are negative. We are attracted to negativity. The good news is, and that's why the first time when you meet somebody, you're always asking, "How are you?" They'll never say the good things. They'll always say the negative. What is negative in their life or what is bad in their life,
Yeah.
which is a sad thing, but it's the truth. So we have to accept it, and we have to
Absolutely.
make a sort of a realignment of how we think, and start to think positive first and then negative.
Yes. Absolutely.
And bad news sells. I mean, that's pretty much how it is. It's just that.
Yeah, I mean, and we've seen it in all the paradigm of communication, right? Whether it is entertainment, whether it is news, whether, I mean, we get maza nahi aaya, or rather impact nahi hai. Why? Because anything subtle which churns your brain to look deeper, it doesn't attract more. I mean, if there is a starkingly gory image, you will go back and look into it. There's been a debate going on the OTT platforms, showing so much of violence and openness. But deep inside, we all crave for it as a mindset. I mean, it is that is how we've been conditioned, unfortunately. By, it's a very conscious, subtle change we need to make, and we have to make to make it a larger. That is why we are so famous worldwide, I guess. Everybody sees us in a very different colors. We are not like black and white. We are like full seven colors. Myrad.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this was a very insightful session. It took me back to my early days, and just how change has happened so quickly. And I mean, For me, it was a refresher. For Bhumika, it was like, oh my God, did this even exist? So, I mean, it also gave me a sense of how old I am, but that's okay. But
Yeah,
it's amazing how this change is going to continue, and
yeah,
which is why I felt that content is now king, but the kingmakers, which is people like us who are creating that content, also need a space to discuss and take that time off and understand that
yeah,
we are a community and we can't work in isolation, and we need to understand that the work that we do also impacts people. It also has,
true,
like Jasmine was saying, right, the negativity. So we need to probably consciously tell people who we are creating content for that, what we are creating will have some impact on the person. So while negativity may sell, it's also good to have the positive side. So that's where our role will come in, and that's why I feel a community like this where we can discuss things like these
true.
is very important in today's day and age. And the pandemic actually made me realize that, and which is why I said the pandemic, while it was really impactful, it helped many of us, including me, rethink how we are going about our professional lives and work.